to the Nurse Life Coach Academy podcast, where Laura
and Shelby, both board-certified nurse coaches, talk all about how to get certified and practice professionally as a nurse life coach.
Okay, welcome to the Successful Nurse Coach podcast. It's Laura today, and the title of today's episode is relevant to our Nurse Life Coach Academy students. I think it's relevant to nurses contemplating this path as a specialty, and it's definitely relevant to all of our Successful Nurse Coach clients and community. This is something that I don't know that we can ever get tired of learning about, and that is selling. The sleazy word, the S word, selling. What does that mean? And how it really translates to the number one fear that I had. And I know it's the number one fear that so many of you have. And so the title of today's episode is Selling Isn't Sleazy, It's Sacred. And my intention for this episode is that after you listen to it, you're inspired. You're inspired to go out into the world and serve. And if you can embody this, if this becomes your reality, if you can redefine what sales is to you and how you move with that word, then a successful practice, being a successful business owner, becomes possible and probable. And so this is like the number one thing that we need to learn as new entrepreneurs and as new nurse coaches. So I know that this makes many of you squirm, and we talk about this a lot on the podcast, and we talk about this a lot in our programs, and it makes me squirm too. I squirm still regularly when I'm trying something new and I'm selling that new thing and I think the reason why is it's twofold. One, we don't want to make people feel yucky because we have been made to feel yucky on the other side of a sales conversation. And two, deep down, we're afraid we're going to cause harm. And that harm being that somebody spends time and money with us and they don't get the results that they want. And our ego just cannot grasp that as a reality. And the only way to keep you safe from that being a possible reality is to make you hate sales, to convince you that you are not good at it, that it is for other people. And my purest intention today is to change your mind. And I'm also going to let you in on a little secret here. Me doing this podcast today to you is part of my marketing. You are being sold to as I speak. And yet I don't feel at all squirmy or gross or bad. I'm so grateful to be able to be on here in your ear, or you watching this on YouTube to listen to this. But this is sales as well. So as you're experiencing me today and listening to my voice or watching this video about sales, you're being sold to. And I know because you've told me that you can feel my intention is to serve. So the first big lesson here is when your intention is clean, when your intention is pure, like we have control over our intention, then anything that happens or emanates from that place will not feel bad for the client on the receiving end. It all starts with intention. And this is going to be an episode about a mindset shift that could potentially reframe how you think about making your offers and believing in your bones, all the way down into your cells, that selling isn't sleazy. It's a sacred act. Okay. So if I can take you from being concerned about selling to being excited about getting out there into the world and doing it, then I have won the internet today. And that's my goal. I want to win the internet today. Okay. So first, I want to talk about the old story of sales and talk about what people think of when they think of sales. And I'm going to give you some of my examples, and I'm sure you have your examples, but it is so uncomfortable. You think used car salesman, you think a dear friend who had no sales training trying to sell you into a supplement company or an MLM. You think of somebody that you said no to and they try to overcome your objection and it felt really bad, almost invasive. I'm going to even say this, a little T traumatic. and your brain remembers it. And maybe it's happened 2 times, maybe it's happened 10 times. Maybe you unknowingly have been that person trying to learn how to sell something. And it is the feeling that you have that your brain does not want you to experience again. You think pressure, you think sales scripts, you think manipulation. And we don't want to manipulate. If you're drawn to nurse coaching, the last thing you want to do in the world is manipulate. But advocacy and manipulation can look like the exact same thing. The only thing different is your intention behind it. Okay, so like if I'm sitting here today doing this podcast and I'm thinking, I really want to make X amount of dollars this month. I'm going to get on and try to manipulate as many people as I can to buy my course or to buy my programs. How can I manipulate all the nurses who are listening to this today? That's what I would have to do for it to be manipulation. It is a 99% chance that if you are a nurse and you're drawn to this is not you. It's like, have you met you? Have you met me? Like, it's just not in our DNA. We're just not going to do it. It's impossible. So I want you to know with like 100% certainty that it's likely impossible for you to manipulate. Your fear of manipulating people is not real because you are incapable of it. You aren't built that way. Now, advocacy, that doesn't mean that you don't sell sometimes from an unclean place. That is totally different. And we're going to define that. But advocacy is advocating for somebody because you see a potential or something in their future. You believe something that will be better or higher for them, and you are not afraid to share that. That is sales as well. Nurses are freaking awesome advocates. You guys rock. You know this. This is a skill set you have. Sales is advocacy. You're building on a confidence and a skill set and a very like sacred way of being in the world. That is your version of selling your offers in your nurse coaching business. You can't be sleazy and advocate at the same time. You can be sleazy and manipulate. And we're going to talk all about that here. So if your stomach drops when someone says you need to sell yourself, good. I don't want you to sell yourself. Don't sell yourself. I'm not selling myself here to you. I am selling an idea. I'm selling something that I'm deeply passionate about. I'm selling an idea that I think nurse coaching could change the world. And I think that nurse coaches who step into it, your lives will change in a positive way. I am selling this specialty. I'm selling this possibility because I've lived it. But I am not selling Laura Menard is so great and you should do everything that Laura Menard says. That is gross. So don't sell yourself ever. You don't need to. If you're selling coaching, you have an offer, you have an idea, you have a structure that can stand on its own. You don't have to sell yourself. You sell this thing to the left of you. And if you're watching the video, I'm kind of doing this thing with my hands to show you that you're not selling this, you're going to sell this. And that usually solves that problem. Now, in healthcare, giving is praised and receiving is, well, it's a little complicated. So while we have some unfair advantages in sales because we're natural advocates, we do have a few hiccups we have to get over, which is this culture of overgiving. The other group of people that I find really struggle with this are deeply religious or men or women that are in ministry where there is, you provide services for the world. It is spiritual in nature. There is no price tag. It is the exchange is them donating to you or tithing to you. Here's the thing. There is no full-time preacher or minister or clergy in this country that doesn't receive money for the services they provide to take care of their needs. So while it is done differently, the exchange happens differently, there's still an exchange of energy for energy. And selling is that. You're bringing value and energy to the world. The way that it's reciprocated is through monetary energy. So we're going to reframe sales as a service. We're going to take 5 minutes here. And sales is coaching before the coaching starts. Okay? In certification, you spend 60 hours coaching. Selling begins the moment you start serving for free. When you show up fully to your powerful conversation or your sales conversation, you're already coaching. You are creating possibility. You're holding a vision. You are serving that human. You are not selling minutes with you. And you're certainly not selling yourself. Now, one of the most powerful sales calls that I've ever experienced in my entire life that changed the trajectory of my life, and I speak of this freely and I've spoken of it often, was the sales conversation that I had with the certification company that I ended up choosing and going through. Thank God that on the other end of that phone call, that I was served and sold to. And there was belief in the possibility of me becoming a professional nurse coach, creating a private practice. I remember the conversation very vividly because I got off that call, and while I was nervous about spending the money, I was certain that like there was something here for me. And that was sales. I was sold to, and that conversation changed the trajectory of my life. That conversation led to this moment where I here doing a podcast, my fourth year in a row, am actively holding a vision for each of you that you can love nursing, you can love your private practice, and you can make enough money doing it to take care of all of your needs. That is possible. It's kind of what I stand for. Kind of like why I'm up early in the morning doing all this stuff. Now, if I believe in the transformation that I offer, it is unloving and selfish to not tell people about it. I'm going to give you a story. Let's say, hypothetically, you got invited to a party, okay? And in your life, you've been trained and you've learned about herbs. And in your purse, you happen to have an herb that you've found out about, that you've cultivated. And this herb is in the form of some kind of pill. And the pill takes away headaches immediately. It takes away pain. And so you carry it on you in case you have any pain. And you go to a party and something happens and you notice that 20 out of the 100 people in that room have a headache. They have pain. They're actively suffering. And you, in your purse, you have the solution and you have plenty of it to give away for free. And let's say you happen to have more of it back at home so that if somebody tried it and liked it and wanted more of it, you were happy to provide it for them. Would you just sit in that party, in that room of 100 people, and watch 20 people suffer that don't need to because you're afraid you're going to be sleazy if you offer them something for free that will take away their suffering or create another possibility for their existence? So freaking selfish. And as nurses, I know that you won't do that. I know you won't do that. Now, in coaching, yes, we help people with pain, but we also help people with possibility. And let me talk about this other kind of pain. If a human being is existing in their life and not reaching their full potential, or they're living out of alignment with their spiritual values, or they are settling, or they are living their life for other people's ideas about how they should live. When you do that year after year, there is baseline intense pain that you become accustomed to. Many of you listening to this are feeling like that in your career, which is why you're listening to me right now. And that is pain. It is pain to not live in your purpose. It is pain to not reach your full potential. It is pain to live for other people's ideas about you. It is painful to believe things about you that are untrue, i.e., I'm too fat, I'm too this, I'm too much, I'm too little, I'm not enough. That's pain. And it's the human condition. So if I went to a party with 100 people, 100 of you are in pain because I know humans. And I have this thing called coaching that I've cultivated over years that I believe will help. And it is generous and loving of me to tell everybody in that room that I have something for free I'd like to gift them that might help. And if they choose to pay me for more of it at a later date, awesome. We both win. That is how you build a nurse coaching practice. Your nurse coaching practice, if built in a sacred way from a clean place, it is a win-win. A win for you, a win for your family, a win for your clients, a win for the world. Now, the opposite of that would be sleazy sales, where it is manipulation and it's all about you, where you go take from the world so that you take from the world and other people have less. If you're listening to this, I'm telling you right now, it's impossible. It's just not you. Now, is it possible to be very self-centered and worried about how you're doing, and that can feel like you're manipulating? Yeah, you can get unclean. But I know your intention is not that. And I want you to know that your intention is not that too. Because I believe that sales can be spiritual. I think it has to be, if I'm being honest. Like, I don't think that I can sell without it being a spiritual act at this point. It just, transactional sales, maybe the nature of what I sell, I can't do it anymore. If there is not a clear spiritual component to it, I'm not interested. And what do I mean by that? Well, I'll tell you right now. I talked to somebody about 3 months ago, and they were interested in doing Nurse Life Coach Academy. But after I heard their goals, like, we weren't the right program for them. But, they were really confused on what to do, how to do it, who to trust, what program to take. It's so noisy. And I could just tell they had no clarity. And so I said, just get on a call with me. I am unclear if my program is the best, but if it is not the best, I will tell you. And I made it very clear to that person, like, hey, it doesn't sound like this is the direction you want to go. It sounds like you want a pretty clinical practice. And if you want a pretty clinical practice and you're needing these aspects of it and business training, here's this other person that I trust. And I made a referral. That is spiritual. I reached out to this person. This person spent 30 minutes with me. This person got clear about her next step. This person went on to create something magical. I got no money from it, but I got fulfilled from it. And she could feel that. And I know you guys can feel that. We hear this all the time with people on our sales calls, especially if you're shopping around for different certifications, then you have a call with me or my team, with me, Shelby, or our team. You're like, wow, you guys are so real. Like, I can tell you're not reading a script. It's like, yeah, good. Because we hope that after we teach you how to coach and we teach you how to work in your business, that you will remember this conversation you're having with us right now, and you'll get to emulate it. And your clients and potential clients will feel this way too. This is spiritual. What's not spiritual? All right. Hi, Jane. Yeah, tell me a little bit about your nurse coach goals. Oh, I hear that you want more time freedom. Well, I've got this thing I'm going to sell you, and I'm going to throw in this extra thing. And it's limited time only. You got to let me know in the next 24 hours. I'm going to text you and you got to call me and get a credit card. It's like, there are people selling like that to our potential clients. That's terrible. If you are being sold to in that way, if you are feeling like you have to hurry up and make a decision, it's not spiritual, and it is manipulation, and it is not the way that you want to sell. And it's certainly not who you want to learn sales from. Okay. So when you get really clean with yourself, with your intentions, when you just trust that the universe or God is not going to put anyone in front of you that doesn't need to be there, and whether they get 2 hours for free with you or they end up working with you for a year and paying you money, like, you just trust that the universe, God, them, you, like, it'll all get sorted out and it'll all work out, that you don't have to push or control. You can develop your skills of advocacy. There is skills required in selling to be a better advocate. So when we're teaching sales, we're teaching you how to become the most effective advocate so that you create the most amount of highest percentage of conversions that are highest good for your client. That's like awesome, right? If you were a surgeon, you'd want to train to have the highest amount of good outcomes on the table. Yeah. If you're a professional coach, you want to train to have the highest percentage of good outcomes in service to your clients. But it's always in service to your clients. What can be confusing here? And for in the nurse coach industry, us earning money is so downstream from all of our work. And so there's this secondary effect that happens in our business from living this way, where you are serving everywhere. You are a nurse coach serving at the grocery store. You are a nurse coach serving when you're talking to your family. There's this identity shift that happens that you're kind of selling everywhere you go because of who you're being. And it doesn't mean you have to do this all the time, but it just happens over time. I know a lot of our year 2, year 3 peeps, like, this is something that they talk about where it's just like natural. Oh yeah, I went to the hospital. My kid had a procedure. I was telling everybody about nurse coaching. I handed out my card. Like, basically, it just becomes who you are. That is the goal here. The goal here is to get to the place where serving and being and easing suffering in the world and creating potential and seeing other people's visions. It's just who you are. And then on the back end of that, accidentally, your business bank account will grow. It's just what happens. It's like a direct result of the value that you bring in the world. I am so lucky because I'm living with a professional coach that's building his practice word of mouth and referral based and has been for the last 3 years, part-time, my husband. And I watch him do this in the world. So it's like I'm teaching this, I lived this, and now I'm actively watching him, who's, I don't know, about 3 years behind me. And I'm telling you, he does it better than I ever did. He does it great. I see him do this in person. He does it so well. And sometimes he has wonderful financial months in his business because of it. And sometimes there's months where he doesn't. But it never changes the way he shows up. It never changes the amount of time that he gives. And it never changes him listening to his own spiritual guidance on how to charge, what to charge, and what to give. But there is an effect, and the effect is a successful business. Sales, i.e., advocacy, results in creating so much value in the world that your bank account through reciprocity will get bigger. This is a very clean exchange. It's generative. There's this beautiful word, generative. The nature of it is creating more good. So I think if I propose $10,000 for someone to work with me and they pay me $10,000 and we work together for 6 months, there's something generative there where the outcome has even more value than that. Now, manipulation is not that. Manipulation, there is a siphon of energy of good. You can feel it. You 100% can feel it. You can feel it when it's happening to you. You can feel it when you're doing it. And so you got to discern and trust your own intentions here. Now, if you tie in spiritual values, and we teach this in our course, our deep coaching, intro to deep coaching, talked about this a lot, but your spiritual values are, for me, it's freedom, it's faith, unconditional love. Those are a few of mine. But many of you have your own language here of what your really strong spiritual values are: trust, alignment, surrender, co-creation, forgiveness. There's all these things that we aspire to be. And it's really a spiritual aspiration. So when you're making an offer that is sacred, you are saying, I see your pain, I see your possibility, and I'm willing to walk with you. That is valuable. We are so capable as human beings. We have so much potential inside of us. It's wild how much potential we have. And it is unleashed when we have somebody to walk with us, a mentor, a coach. And that's what a lot of you are training to be. You are training to be this pivotal moment in your clients' lives where they will look back and go, oh, that was Laura before coaching, and this is Laura after coaching. We get to do that with human beings for a living. And they pay us well. And we enjoy it and they enjoy it. And the world gets a better human. So it's so generative. Now, how do we flip the fear of rejection? We are not rejected. It is either aligned or unaligned. Isn't that beautiful? Doesn't mean that those 2 hours that we give our clients, now, the way that we teach in the Successful Nurse Coach method, Powerful Conversation 1 is free. Powerful Conversation 2 is free. At the end of Powerful Conversation 2, we make a proposal. We work through resistance. We look for alignment. We come to a conclusion, a yes or a no. We try not to have maybes. And some will be a yes and some will be a no. That's it. It's clean. What if no just means not now? What if no means it's not aligned at the moment? What if no means no forcing? And what if working with resistance is advocacy and expected because we understand that human beings are afraid of change? Selling is simply offering an invitation to transformation. I would love to walk with you, Jane. I think we could do beautiful work together. In 6 months, I can see your relationships being better, your finances not causing you so much stress, prioritizing yourself for the first time in years. At the end of 6 months, you'll be so proud of yourself. And I think your family will notice. And I don't think you'll regret it. And I'd love to do that with you, to hold you to that, even when you don't want to. That's worth money, guys. Providing that is worth money. You should be paid for that. And here's the thing. If Jane pays me $10,000, let's say she pays me $10,000 in full. And it makes her feel nauseous and uncomfortable and she's not sure she's doing the right thing. Who she becomes in that 6 months with that much money and energy on the line is extraordinary. Now, if I was charging her $30 an hour week to week, or $40 an hour week to week, do you think it would be as powerful of a context? And I'm using this bigger number just to like invoke a feeling. That's not what our new nurse coaches charge necessarily, but I've charged that for 5 years or more. I've charged more than that for 5 years. And so I can also say with absolute certainty that in some instances it's required and it should happen. So selling is simply offering an invitation to transformation. And some people will say yes, and some people will say no, and it doesn't mean anything about you. Okay. We talk a lot about the energy that you bring into your sales conversations and like the fierceness of advocacy. And we also talk about detachment from the outcome and energetic integrity. I love the feeling or even the word of clean confidence, or if your energy is clean. When you believe in what you're offering and you respect your client's autonomy, it becomes easeful. Now, if you're trying to sell yourself, it's never easeful. So I want to make that distinction. So let's say you're a new nurse coach, you have a 3-month transformational coaching package. Let's name it something and define it a little bit clearer, as opposed to just 3 months of life coaching. Let's call it a 3-month transformational program where month 1 will do this, month 2 will do this, and month 3 will do this, and it has a name. And let's say you believe in it. And it's this thing that's outside of you. And the way that you believe in it is by offering it to people and having them experience transformation. And so maybe the first offer you make is $900 for 3 months. But you believe that 3 months with you is worth $900. That is something you can get behind. And when you believe in what you're offering and you respect their ability to say yes to the transformation or no to the transformation, then the answer doesn't affect you. When you're selling yourself and you're getting rejected regularly. Now, here's the thing. If your practice is set up appropriately, you are being rejected, quote unquote, rejected or getting no's 50 to 75% of the time. Meaning 1 in 4 are a yes, 1 in 3 are a yes, when we set up your practice for that to be the reality. So if you're saying yes to becoming a nurse coach and you're selling yourself and you're making no's mean something about you, you won't make it. Your ego it'll be too painful. When you are selling this thing that's outside of you that you believe in, this structure, this container, when you're selling the container, the power of the container, the spiritual nature of the coaching container, when you're selling that, then simply when you ask the question and you advocate, you're asking, is this aligned or not? And then you are the steward of that decision. Being the steward of that decision feels a lot different than trying to sell yourself and your ego being involved. You cannot manipulate from this place. You really can only serve, and then you just get better at it. This is something you become the highest level advocate. Now, our world was shaped by people who had this skill set. Martin Luther King. I don't know why he just came to mind. Martin Luther King was an advocate for equality. He was selling the idea of equality at scale to the whole world. And he was so powerful that he inspired people to follow him and to take actions necessary to change the history of the world. We celebrate him. He became, from a deep, clean place, from a spiritual place, mind you, a world-renowned advocate of selling an idea. If you think of Mother Teresa, if you think of, anybody, any author, anybody that you see as a thought leader, they are an advocate of the idea or the ideals that they believe in. This is a very noble skill. And I want to teach you this noble skill. And it's so different than what we immediately thought of when we think of sales, which is some weird conversation that makes you want to vomit when somebody's trying to sell you something that you don't want or pressuring you. And that is how we really create sacredness around this act. Now, I'm going to give you just some simple tips to embody this, because this is like a whole thing that you're going to learn to embody. And it's like changing the way that you relate to the word. You're changing the way that you relate to selling transformation as opposed to selling yourself or selling minutes with you or worrying about your offer. When you are in that powerful conversation number 2, and you've prepped for that powerful conversation number 2, and I have mindfulnesses in my course. There's all these things that we've done to help and assist you guys with this, but essentially you're going to have your own process. But really it's, what does this person need right now? And I show up in love, and I don't take their yes or their no as proof of my worth or really having anything to do with me. And I practice gratitude on every call, no matter the outcome. And as I'm saying this to you guys, I can just feel my own hypocrisy. So my ego's like, have you been doing that on every call, Laura? And I can actually feel my own, like the hypocrisy of it, which I don't take to heart. We're human beings. So it's not that you'll do it perfectly all the time. It's this ideal. It's this practice of getting into the space and into this mindset. Now, this would be a great podcast episode and if you have coaching calls, and go for a walk before and listen to it. I think we're about 30 minutes here. So this would be wonderful for just to re-listen to constantly. Okay. I'm going to end this podcast episode with a few examples of sales that don't feel sleazy. If you go get coffee regularly and there's a barista who remembers your name and suggests a new drink, she's selling to you. But you don't feel sold to. You feel seen. And you bought the chai latte or whatever because she thought you'd love it. A friend who recommends a therapist, a book, or a retreat. There's no commission, no pitch, just someone who truly believes it could change your life. In that kind of advocacy, we don't blink an eye because there's no money exchange, right? And so I want to say that there really is no difference. And let's think of like you go to Sephora and you're asking for help with makeup. And I went to Sephora, I think last year. I was like, hey, my skin's getting older. Like I'm still doing my makeup like I was in my 20s. Like, can you help me out here? And I probably bought like $200-300 worth of stuff that day. And that salesperson was helping me. And I wanted to buy from her. She helped me figure out what to do. She had expertise that I didn't have. And we've all listened to like TED Talks, or we've seen reels and bought a book of an author. And best believe there is a purpose behind people doing TED Talks. There is a purpose behind people publishing books. Anything that you consume that you found value in, you're being sold to. It's part of their sales and marketing process. And you don't feel manipulated. You feel inspired because the value came first. And so here at the Successful Nurse Coaches and at Nurse Life Coach Academy, we teach you that you provide value before you ever ask for the sale. And when you ask for the sale, you are asking to be able to walk and advocate with that human being for a specific amount of time. And you are not selling yourself. You are selling the container, which you've been trained very well to hold. All right, guys. I would love if you would save this episode, have it be something that you can listen to. If you've got like some sales calls coming up or your first sales call, and you all of a sudden start having all the ick and the feelings, just go for a quick walk. Listen to my voice. Get into this mindset of service, of it being sacred, of it being spiritual. Embody your spiritual values and advocate to the best of your ability and be non-attached. That's it. That's it. That's how you become so good at sales. That's how you become so integrous. That's how you become memorable. And so that people refer you and your coaching to everybody that they know, because they never feel icky. They never feel sold to. And it's a pleasure of theirs to refer you to everybody. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. As always, thank you so much for listening. And we love bringing you these episodes every week. If there's something you want me to speak on, send me an email, laura@thesuccessfulnursecoaches.com. Send me an email and say, hey, Laura, your next solo episode, I'd really like you to go deep on this. And I'd be happy to do that. Have a great rest of your day.